Kate's told you in the classroom.
Well, he said that at first Earth was too hot for any life, but then it cooled off a mite and cells and things begun to live.
Cells?
They're like little bugs, like in the water. And then the little bugs got to be bigger bugs and then sprouted legs and crawled up under the land.
And how long did this take, according to Mr. Cates?
Well, a couple million years, maybe longer. Then came the reptiles and the mammals. Man's a mammal.
Along with the dogs and the cattle in the field. Did he say that?
Yes, sir.
Now, Howard, how did man come out of this slimy mess of bugs and serpents, according to your professor?
Well, man was sort of evoluted from the old world monkeys.
Old world monkeys. You hear that, my friends? According to Mr. Cates here, you and I aren't even descended from good old American monkeys. Now, Howard, listen very carefully. Of all this talk of bugs and dews and evolution, did Mr. Cates ever make any reference to God?
Not as I remember.
Or the miracle he achieved in 7 days is described to us in the beautiful book of Genesis?
No, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Objection. I would ask the court remind the learned counsel that this is not a chautauquatent. He is supposed to be submitting evidence to a jury. This is not a forum for speeches.
Your Honor, I have no intention of making a speech. I'm sure that everyone on the jury, everyone within the sound of this boy's voice is moved by this tragic confusion. He was taught that he wriggled up from the muck and filth below like an animal. I say that these Bible haters, these evolutionists, are brewers of poison. And it is the legislature of this sovereign state which has had the wisdom to demand that the peddlers of poison in books or in bottles clearly label the products they attempt to sell. I say that if this law is not upheld, this boy will become one of a generation shorn of its teachings by a godless science. But if the full penalty of law is meted out to Bertram Cates, the whole world over who are watching us here and listening to our every word across the seas will call this courtroom blessed.
Amen. That's right, thank you.
Your witness.
Well, I sure am glad Colonel Brady didn't make a speech. Now, Howard, I just heard you say that the world used to be pretty hot.
That's what Mr. Cates told us.
Figures any hotter than it is right now.
Well, I guess it must have been. Mr. Cates read it to us from a book.
Do you recall what book?
I guess that Darwin guy thought it up.
Now, do you figure anything's wrong with that, Howard?
Well, I don't know.
Objection. The defense is asking that a 13-year-old boy hand down an opinion on a question of morality.
I'm trying to prove, Your Honor, that Howard, or Colonel Brady, or Charles Darwin, or anyone in this courtroom, or you, sir, has the right to think.
The right to think is not on trial here.
With all due respect to the bench, I hold that the right to think is very much on trial. It is fearfully in danger in the proceedings of this court.
A man is on trial here.
A thinking man. And he's threatened with fine and prison because he chooses to speak what he thinks.
Colonel Drummond, would you please rephrase your question?
Let's put it this way, Howard. All this fuss and feathers about evolution, you think it hurt you any?
Sir?
I mean, did it do you any harm? Affect your baseball game? Hurt your pitching arm?
No, sir. I'm the lefty.
Southboy. Still on to your father and mother?
Sure.
Haven't murdered anybody since breakfast?
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Howard, do you believe everything that Mr. Cates told you?
Well, I gotta think it over.
Good for you. Your pa's a farmer, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
Got a tractor?
A brand new one.
Now, do you figure a tractor's sinful because it isn't mentioned in the Bible?
I don't know.
Moses never made a phone call. Suppose it makes the telephone an instrument of the devil.
Well, I never really thought of it that way.
Neither did anybody else. Your Honor, my worthy opponent makes the same mistake as all godless men to confuse the great spiritual realities with material things. Why do you bewilder this child? Does right have no meaning to you, sir?
Realizing that I may prejudice the case of my client, I must say that right has no meaning to me whatsoever.
What?
Truth has meaning, as a direction. But one of the peculiar imbecilities of our time is the arbitrary grid of morality we place on human behavior, so that every act of man must be measured against an arbitrary latitude of right and longitude of wrong, in exact minutes, seconds, and degrees. Do you have any idea what I'm talking about, Howard?
No, sir.
Well, maybe you will. Someday. Thank you, son. That'll be all.
The witness is excused. I don't need any more, Howard. Next witness.
The prosecution would like to call Miss Rachel Brown to the stand.
Will Miss Rachel Brown please come forward?
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Miss Brown, you are a teacher at the Hillsborough Consolidated School, are you not?
Yes.
So you have had ample opportunity to get to know the defendant, Mr. Cates, professionally.
Yes.
Mr. Cates, a member to the spiritual community to which you belong?
Objection. I don't understand this chatter about spiritual communities. If the prosecution wants to know if they go to the same church, why doesn't he ask that?
Objection overruled. You answer the question, please.
I didn't answer the question, did I? What was the question?
Do you and Mr. Cates attend the same church?
Not anymore. Bert dropped out 2 summers ago.
Why?
It was what happened with that little Sevens boy.
You explain that to us, please.
The boy was only 11 years old. He went swimming in the river and got a cramp and drowned. Bert felt horrible. He used to come over and look through Bert's microscope all the time. Bert said that the boy had a quick mind, might even grow up to be a scientist one day. But at the funeral, Pa preached that Tommy's soul didn't die in a state of grace because his folks never had him baptized.
Tell them what your father really said. That Tommy's soul was damned, writhing in hellfire. Religion's supposed to comfort people, not frighten them to death.
We will have order here, please.
Your Honor, I would ask the defendant's remarks to be stricken from the record.
But how can you strike this man's bigoted opinion from the memory of this community? Go on, my dear. Tell us some more of Mr. Cates' opinion on the subject of religion.
Objection? Hearsay testimony is not admissible.
The court sees no objection to this line of questioning. Proceed, Colonel Brady.
Will you merely repeat in your own words some of the conversations you have had with the defendant?
Bert was just telling me about some of the things he'd read. He...
Go on, my dear.
I can't.
May I remind you, Miss Brown, that you were testifying under oath. It's unpertinent to withhold information.
Bert said...
Were you shocked when he told you some of these things? Describe to me your innermost feelings when Bertram Cates told you God did not create man, man created God.
It's not what he said, but it's not what I told you. Bert said, God created man in his own image, and man, being a gentleman, returned the compliment.
One, my dear, tell us some more. What did he say about the holy state of matrimony? Did he compare it to the breeding of animals?
Bert didn't say that. He didn't mean it. He's just...
Are you ill, Miss Brown? You care for a glass of water?
Under the circumstances, I believe the witness should be excused.
The defense have no opportunity to challenge some of the statements the prosecution has put into the mouth of the witness.
Don't blame her. Let her go.
No questions.
For the time being, the witness is excused. Does the prosecution wish to call any further witnesses?
Not at the present time, Your Honor.
Shall proceed with the case for the defense. Colonel Drummond?
The defense would like to call Dr. Charles Huxley, head of the Department of Zoology at the University of Chicago.
Objection. Wish to inquire what personal relevance the testimony of a zoology professor could have in this trial.
It has every relevance. My client is on trial for teaching evolution. Any testimony related to the alleged infringement of the law must be admitted.
Irrelevant, inadmissible, immaterial.
Suppose Bertram Cates were to be accused of murder. Would Your Honor rule out expert testimony that stated the so-called murder weapon was incapable of firing a bullet?
I fail to grasp the learned counsel's meaning.
Oh. The defense wishes to call Dr. Huxley to the witness stand so that he may explain to the jury exactly what the evolutionary theory is. How
I
can they
stand
make a
to
judgment on it if they don't know what it's all about?
I stand to hold that the law we are here to defend refuses such testimony in this case. And the people of this state have made it very clear they do not want this zoological hogwash slobbered about the schoolrooms. And I will not stand here and allow these agnostic scientists to use this courtroom as a sounding board and as a platform to shout their heresies into the headlines.
Yes, sir.
Colonel Drummond, the court rules that zoology is irrelevant to this case.
Agnostic scientist. I call Dr. Alan Page, deacon of the Congregational Church and professor of geology at Oberlin College.
Objection.
Objection sustained.
I call Dr. Walter Aronson, philosopher, anthropologist, author, one of the most brilliant minds in the world today. Objection, Colonel Brady.
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Does the court, in one breath, deny the existence of zoology, geology, and anthropology?
We do not deny the existence of these sciences. We do not see any relevance for them in this case.
In other words, Your Honor rules out all expert testimony regarding Charles Darwin's origin of species or descent of man.
The court so rules.
Would the court admit expert testimony regarding a book known as the Holy Bible?
Any objection, Colonel Brady?
The counsel can advance the case of the defendant through use of the Holy Scriptures. The prosecution will take no exception.
Thank you. Good. I call to the stand one of the world's foremost experts on the Bible and its teachings, Matthew Harrison Brady.
Your Honor, this is preposterous.
Well, it's highly unorthodox. I've never known an instance where the defense attorney held the prosecuting attorney as a witness.
Now, this entire trial is unorthodox. If it will further the case of the defendant, I will take the stand.
Colonel Brady.
Colonel Brady, the court will support you if you wish to decline to testify.
Oh, I shall not testify against anything. I shall speak out as I have all my life on behalf of the living truth of the Scriptures.
Mr. Meager, bear swear in the witness, please.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And he will.
Am I correct, sir, in calling on you as authority on the Bible?
It is not boastful to say that I have studied the Bible as much as any layman, and I have tried to live according to its precepts.
Bully for you. Now suppose you could quote me, chapter and verse, straight through the King James Version, can't you?
Well, there are many portions of the Bible which I have committed to memory.
Now suppose you memorize many passages from the origin of species.
I am not in the least interested in the pagan hypotheses of that book,
Never read it.
and I never will.
Then how in perdition do you have the gall to whoop up this holy war against something you don't know anything about? How can you be so cocksure that the body of scientific knowledge systemized in the writings of Charles Darwin is, in any way, irreconcilable with the spirit of the book of Genesis?
You state that question again.
Let me put it this way. On page 19 of The Origin of Species, Charles Darwin states,
I object to this, Your Honor. Colonel Brady has been called as an authority on the Bible. Now the gentleman from Chicago is using this as an opportunity to read into the scientific testimony, which you yourself has previously ruled is irrelevant. If he's going to examine Mr. Brady on the Bible, let him stick to the Bible, the Holy Bible, and only the Bible.
Amen. Amen.
You will confine your questions to the Bible.
all right, I get to set in the wind. We'll play in your ballpark, Colonel. Let's get it straight. Let's get it clear. This is the book you're an expert on, correct?
That is correct.
Tell me, do you feel that every word that's written in this book should be taken literally?
I believe that everything in the Bible should be accepted as it is given there.
Take this part where the whale swallows Jonah. Do you figure that actually happened?
The Bible does not say a whale, it says a big fish.
Matter of fact, it says a great fish, but it's pretty much the same thing. What are your thoughts on that?
I believe in a God who can make a whale and who can make a man. Make them both do as he pleases.
I recollect another story about Joshua making the sun stand still in the sky. Now, as an expert, you tell me that that's as true as this Jonah business, right? That's a pretty neat trick. Figure Houdini could do it.
Well, I do not question or scoff the miracles of the Lord, as do ye of little faith.
You ever pondered just what would naturally happen if the sun stood still?
The Bible satisfies me, it is enough.
Well, if they thought that the sun could stand still in the sky, they must have had a notion that the sun moves around the earth. Think that's the way of things? Or don't you believe the earth moves around the sun?
I have faith in the Bible.
You don't have much faith in the solar system.
The sun stopped.
Good. Now, if what you say factually happened, if Joshua halted the sun in the sky, that means the earth stopped spinning on its axis. Continents toppled over each other, mountains flew off into space, and the earth, arrested in its orbit, shriveled to a cinder and crashed into the sun. How can they miss this tidbit of news?
Well, they missed it because it didn't happen.
It must have happened according to natural law, Colonel. Don't you believe in natural law? Would you like to pass a law to ban all scientific developments, Joshua? Revelations? Period.
Natural law was born in the mind of the Heavenly Father. He can change it, cancel it, use it as he pleases. It constantly amazes me that you apostles, for all of your supposed wisdom, fail to grasp this simple fact.
Listen to this. Genesis 4:16. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the east of Eden, the land of Nod. And Cain knew his wife. Where the hell did she come from?
Who?
Mrs. Cain. Cain's wife. If in the beginning there were only Adam and Eve, and then Cain and Abel, where did this extra woman spring from? Ever figure that out?
I'll leave you agnostics on for her.
Never bothered
It never bothered me.
you. Never tried to find out.
No!
Frightens me to imagine the state of learning in this world if everyone had your driving curiosity. This book now goes into a lot of begets. Fraxa begets Sal. Sala begat Eber, so on and so forth. These are pretty important, folks.
They are the holy generations of the men and women of the Bible.
Now, how do they go about all this begatting?
What do you mean?
I mean, did people get themselves begat in those days about the same way they get themselves begat today?
Well, the process is about the same. I don't think your scientists have improved it any.
In other words, these folks were conceived and brought forth through the normal biological function known as sex. What do you think of sex, Colonel Brady?
In what spirit is the question asked?
I'm not asking what you think of sex as a father or as a husband. Lord Presidential candidate, you're up here as an expert on the Bible. What's the biblical evaluation of sex?
It is considered the original sin.
And all these holy men and women got themselves begat through original sin? All this sinning make them any less holy?
Your Honor, where is this leading us? What does this have to do with the state versus Benjamin case?
Colonel Drummond, the court must be satisfied that this questioning has some bearing on the case.
You've ruled out all my witnesses. I must be allowed to examine the one witness you've left me in my own way.
Your Honor, I'm willing to sit here and take Colonel Drummond's sneering and his discontent, for he is pleading the case of the defense for all that is holy.
Objection, objection, objection!
On what grounds is it possible that something is holy to you celebrated agnostics?
Yes. The individual human mind. In a child's power to master the multiplication tables, there is more sanctity than in all your shouted amens, holy holies, and hosannas. An idea is a greater monument than a cathedral. And the advance of man's knowledge is more of a miracle than any sticks turns to snakes or the parting of waters. But are we now to halt the march of progress because Mr. Brady frightens us with fable? Ladies and gentlemen, progress has never been a bargain. You got to pay for it. Sometimes I think there's a man behind a counter who says, all right, you can have a telephone, but you give up privacy, the charm of distance. Madam, you may vote, but at a price. You lose the right to retreat behind a powder puff or a petticoat. Mister, you may conquer the air, but the birds will lose their wonder, and the clouds will smell of gasoline. Dog moved us forward to a hilltop, where we can look back and see the way from whence we came. For this view, this insight, this knowledge, we must abandon our faith.
We must not abandon faith. Faith is the most important thing.
Yeah, right.
Then why, Mr. Brady, God plague us with the power to think? Why do you deny the one faculty which is man above all other creatures? The power of his brain to reason. What other merit have we? The elephant is larger, the horse stronger and swifter, the butterfly more beautiful, the mosquito more prolific, even the simple sponge is more durable. What does a sponge think?
I don't know. I'm a man, not a sponge.
Do you think a sponge thinks?
If the Lord wishes a sponge to think, it thinks.
Does a man have the same privileges as a sponge?
Of course.
This man wishes to be accorded the same privileges as a sponge. He wishes to think.
Your client is wrong. He is deluded. He has lost his way.
It's sad that we aren't all gifted with your positive knowledge of right and wrong, Mr. Brady. How old do you think this rock is?
I am more interested in the rock of ages than I am in the age of rocks.
Right. Dr. Page of Oberlin College tells me that this rock is at least 10 million years old.
Well, Colonel Drummond, you've managed to sneak in some of that scientific testimony after all.
Look, Mr. Brady, within this rock are the fossil remains of a prehistoric marine creature, which lived in this very county 10 million years ago, when these mountain ranges were submerged in water.
Your scientist is a little mixed up on his date. In fact, the good Bishop Usher has determined for us the exact date and hour of the creation. It happened in the year 4004 BC.
That's Bishop Usher's opinion.
It is not opinion. It is literal fact which he came through careful computation of the ages of the prophets as set down in the Old Testament. In fact, the bishop has determined that the Lord began the creation on the 23rd of October in the year 4004 BC at 9 a.m.
That Eastern Standard Time? Rocky Mountain time. Because it could have been daylight savings time because the Lord didn't create the sun until the 4th day.
That is correct.
That first day was the 24-hour day.
The Bible says it was a day.
There was no way to measure it. No way to tell. Could it have been 25 hours long?
The Bible says it was a day.
A normal day. A literal day. A 24-hour day.
I don't know.
What do you think?
Well, I do not think about things that I do not think about.
You ever think about things that you do think about? There was no sun. No way to measure the length of the day. Could it have been 25 hours long?
It is possible.
Oh. So you determined that the first day, as recorded in the book of Genesis, could be of indeterminate length.
I mean to state that the date referred to is not preferably a 24-hour day.
Could have been 30 hours, or a month, or a year, or 100 years, or 10 million years.
Your Honor, I protest. Not only is this irrelevant, immaterial, it is illegal. I demand to know the purpose of this examination. What is he trying to do?
I'll tell you what he's trying to do. He's trying to shatter everyone's faith in the Holy Scriptures and in God.
You know that's not true. I'm trying to stop you bigots and ignoramuses from controlling the education of the United States. And you know it.
I shall have some help to clear the court, unless there is order here.
How dare you attack the Bible?
The Bible is a book. A good book. But it's not the only book.
It is the revealed word of the Almighty God. God spake to the man who wrote the Bible.
How do you know that God didn't speak to Charles Darwin?
I know because God tells me to oppose the teachings of that man.
Oh, God speaks to you.
Yes.
He tells you exactly what's right and what's wrong.
Yes.
And you act accordingly.
Yes.
So you, Matthew Harrison Brady, through oratory, legislation, or whatever, pass along God's orders to the rest of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the prophet from Nebraska.
Please.
Think that's the way of things?
No.
God tells Brady what is good.
No.
To be against Brady is to be against God.
No. No. Each man is a free agent.
Then what is Bertram Cates doing in the Hillsborough jail? Suppose Mr. Cates had enough influence and bug power to railroad the state legislature a law that only Darwin should be taught in schools.
There's only one great spiritual reality of the world.
The gospel according to Brady. The Lord speaks to Brady and Brady speaks the truth. Brady, 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 Almighty.
Your Honor.
Send the testaments. Let's
friends.
have a book of Brady. We shall
Everyone-
hex the Pentateuch and slip you in neatly between Numbers and Deuteronomy.
Please. You all know what I stand for. What I believe.
Your Honor, this completes my testimony. The witness is excused.
I believe
You are
in the
excused,
book
Colonel
of
Brady.
Genesis.
You were
Leviticus,
excused, Colonel
Exodus,
Brady.
Numbers, Deuteronomy, Jeremiah, Joshua,
Heard till 10 o'clock tomorrow
Judges,
morning.
1
Your Honor,
Samuel,
I'd like to talk to you about
2
striking
Samuel.
all of this from the record. Your Honor.
They were laughing at me, Mother.
No, they weren't.
Stand it when they laugh at me.